Santa La Pace. I'm going to apologize off the bat. The recording is going to be a little bit different as I have to work out some details with my typical recording equipment. And it's going to be a little more complicated for me for a minute in uploading videos. Thank you for doing your part on the YouTube algorithm game. So, yeah, I've been attempting to get some videos out and uploaded, and it's been a tad bit of a fiasco, which is a perfect time to talk about self-love and what that looks like in the reality that we live day to day. One of the things that I do really, really well, and this is a lot to do with why I felt motivated to do this channel, is to see my shadow side and to be okay with it so that I can then accept my true self, right? And it takes that consciousness, what's happening in the 6 inches between your ears, and it takes that slowing down, coming into the body, I talk about all the time. And it can be a challenge, so it has to be a choice. I get frustrated about things, and I fixate on them. I want them worked out. I don't know if any of you can relate, but when what I really needed to do was stop, take Mac, go outside, and go for a walk, a long walk, and let it go. Because if I've done what I can do, then it serves me best to let it go. You know what I'm talking about, I bet. Those little practices are what self-love is about. That's what it looks like. Eating the right things, choosing to stay away from the things that you know are so not conducive to feeling good, let alone being healthy. The one that I have particular experience with that is what I wish to share is relationships. Defining you and where you begin and others end, and even where you end and others begin. Those boundaries, those limitations. Within the past year, had to distance myself in a couple relationships that were really my primary relationships. To some degree, I might have spoken on this in different videos. Very, very difficult to do. Very upset because, we have things that we want to experience with the people that we're in relationship with. And when we're not experiencing what that is that we'd like to experience, it's up to us to walk away. If you've done what you can do in the communication, and for whatever reasons the individual isn't there, to stay and then to be upset with them is such a futile exercise. And I'm pretty sure if I've done it, that it's something we all have done. I don't know if I want to use the words are guilty of, because that brings in a whole nother dimension. That's another reason why I have this channel, because several years back, had a lot of guilt and shame was put on me. And this might be a misery loves company thing, where others really wanted me to be miserable and sitting in that guilt and shame. And I just wasn't having it. You know, it's about personal responsibility. So I'm going to take a look at myself. I'm going to be honest. Look at that shadow side. Get all those dirty leaves out of that, gutter, downspouting. And then I'm not going to sit in guilt and shame. We serve no one to live small. One of the most valuable things we can do is recognize our value. And then this gets into the ego stuff, right? So if you're attached to that ego and you cannot be that third-party observer and look at yourself and honestly, bring that light and say, I don't like those behaviors. They came out of coping mechanisms gone awry. They came out of past abuse, past trauma, and I don't have to live that way. It's going to be, a challenge and a conscious effort to make change so that I have a different result. But that's what I'm going to do, right? And that's one of the reasons why I was so motivated to make change in my behaviors, because I wanted to be responsible for me. I wanted to do my part in changing the world, which means we change ourselves. I have a huge affinity to Yeshua, and that's not something I speak of often because as it is in this world today, it's so much more about worshiping a deity or a figure, a being, a character. And then somehow they're going to save us. Christ was the consummate sovereign. To me, he taught a personal responsibility and changing the world through love, which starts with the self. And that brings us back to self-love. So I was not in self-love mode. And we'll do that. We'll go in and out of it, right? I'd like to take a hammer and beat the out of this, well, it was the device that was taping, that there's too much storage on, and I had a flash drive, and it's worked before. I've transferred files from the phone onto the computer and emptied off the device, the phone that I taped from, and everything was relatively smooth. Oh, not today. Oh, I was so upset. That's self-love. It can be big things, it can be little things. It encompasses a great deal. And I don't care for attention. I'm on this platform in YouTube solely to make a difference to even just one person, to remind you that you're not your ego, and you let that thing ensnare you, and you'll be not in self-love and not in a healthy place to have an edifying relationship with yourself, and thus to have edifying relationships with others. So sometimes we just have to accept that we're in that shadow side and watch and love. I have this whole thing that I do where I'll be like, oh, honey, it's okay. You can let that go. Can you let that go? You can let that go. And then, if I can, I let that go. And I just kind of reparent myself, I use my 6 inches between my ears to do that for myself. And be gentle. And be kind. Maybe that's a good video I've been wanting to do. The difference between being nice and being kind. And that's what I'll work on next. And let me know in the comments if that sounds good to you. Alright, Sento La Pace. Thank you so much for your likes, shares, subscribes. If you've stayed with me this far, I hope it was because it has somehow been something that's been edifying and enriching and helped alter your acceptance and love for yourself, or at least welcomed the opportunity for a different perspective, so that we can feel, be, and exude the delightful experience of peace. Peace out.